Good afternoon, good evening, fellow students. Hey, my name is Anthony Johnson, and today I pretty much want to talk to you about music. Music is something that's real special to me and something that I really enjoy dearly. As I'm thinking about this, there's a question that ponders to my mind, and I might ask you the same question. Is that when you think about music and different genres of styles of music, what comes to mind? Is it hip hop? Is it country? Maybe it's rap? Is it alternative? Maybe it's some one of those things, but I bet you none of you thought about maybe jazz music. You know, but I come to tell you that jazz music has a lot to do with the styles of those music. Matter of fact, from the early 70s to now of the evolution of jazz music, as some may say, it has changed drastically. But however, today in my speech, I will show you the evolution of jazz music from the 1700s till even now, till 1970s till now, and how it still has a great impact on music today. To do that, I want to inform you about New Orleans, the birthplace of jazz music, and one of the most famous jazz musicians of them all, Mr. Duke Ellington, and where jazz music is today and where it plays a great role in our society today. To begin, I want to look at New Orleans, where it all started, where it all began. So jazz music throughout the 1900s had its ups and downs, but shortly after the 1970s, it started evolving and it started being more attractive to people. It was more exciting to different things and people to listen to. Jazz music in the 1970s was actually influenced by Latin jazz, combining rhythms with African and Latin countries. They tried using different instruments such as timbales, congas, some others, the guru, the clays. These were some of the instruments that they infused together to actually form jazz music. Now, there's a big thing that happens in New Orleans. It's called the Jazz Music Festival, or simplified term would be called the Jazz Fest. And according to the National Endowments of the Arts, the Jazz or New Orleans Jazz Festival is probably one of the biggest heritage and cultures that New Orleans still holds on still to today, that was formed way back in the 1970s. Now, this festival has grown to in leaps and bounds to where now people from all around the world actually come to this jazz fest. Following the history, next we'll have to deal with one of the most famous guys, like I said before, Mr. Duke himself. Now, Duke was an American composer. He was a pianist and he was a band leader and also a jazz orchestra. Ellington, he was one of the most single creative guys that played music. He was a composer, he was an arranger in all of jazz history. If you look at some of the jazz elements that happened, it was based upon what some of the things that Duke was doing. This man wrote more than over 2,000 compositions and has more recordings than any other jazz musician still to this day. This man has produced with many people. Many people has great relationships with this man and have been able to do greater things because of him. This guy, honestly, is probably one of the icons that I look at as a jazz musician myself, that I look at as like, man, this guy really has it going on. Age, what was interesting though, is age never was something that worried him. He continued to make improvements in his recordings throughout the 60s and the early 70s. He was even awarded a prize in 1999 after being denied way back in 1965. He finally received it. Now, Duke Ellington was a man who left his mark in the music world and in life in general. He was a man that died for music. He wrote music countless hours. There's a matter of fact, there's countless memorials that were made after him just based upon what he had started. Lastly, when we think about jazz music in today's society, jazz music in the early days helped people now break people out of what we call tradition music, and it has changed to what they believe music should do. It wasn't like a format like, oh, you can only play this style or only play this style. Jazz like pretty much opened it up to where you can really begin to express yourself. According to even the JazzAmerican.org, jazz music in today's society is three directional. It's traditional, it's contemporary, and it's mainstream, and the list goes on and on. But these were some of the main things that were taking place within the jazz music. In conclusion, I want to let you know that even in today's subject and in today's speech, I wanted to inform you about New Orleans, where jazz all started. I want to inform you about Mr. Duke. And I want to inform you about where today's jazz music has taken place. And this is why we can listen to some of the music and like, man, that's a crazy arrangement. That I would have never thought about doing it like that, because that's not how the book tells me. But that's the good thing about jazz music. Really, there's no boundaries, and when you're doing it, you can just do it. Now you can see that how much jazz has influenced the genres of music in today's society. When you think about jazz music and you think about what is played and how it's even probably played a role in some of the music that you listen to today, it all really goes back to the point of Mr. Duke saying, hey, we're going to create some music that's going to be out of this world, that's not going to be your normal stuff, and we're going to be able to change the element. And so I hope that you are enlightened by some of the stuff that I talked about today as far as jazz music. Hope to hear from you soon.